Richard Norman was a young man raised in the Jacksonville area, and he became enamored of the film industry early on. Went to college at Tampa for chemistry and for filmmaking. He went off to the Midwest and made commercial films for the most part. And then he came back to Jacksonville as the film industry was leaving Jacksonville. Bought this facility from Eagle Film City in 1919, and then made 8 films during the next 8 or 9 years. The films that he made here at Norman Studios were called race films. They were made specifically for African American audiences, and they starred African American casts. And why was this unique? Well, the era in that early 20s was emerging racism being codified, actually. In these movies, they were adventure movies. They got to play the good guys, the bad guys, the smart guys, the dumb guys, the villains, and the rich guys, the pilots, like in Flying Ace, all the parts. And so therefore the audiences loved them because they got to see themselves as they were. Well, the Flying Ace is really, if we had to only have one, it would be the one. It was filmed completely here. The others were all on location in other places. But this one was filmed completely on either on this studio or in surrounding areas. It was inspired by Bessie Coleman, who was the first black stunt pilot, female stunt pilot, and they were corresponding to do a film about her life. She had seen The Bulldogger, which is the one about Bill Pickett. And so we don't know whether they met or not, but they were corresponding. So she was killed in an accident, and she was preparing for an air show. But because he was enamored of this whole concept of the pilot, he decided he would make his own film. He set, the character was not a woman, it was a man, and he had him set in the First World War, which didn't have any black pilots. But in the film, the guy comes back from World War I as a hero, and he goes to work for the railroad, and he solves a big crime, and there's some really great plane scenes. No plane ever leaves the ground, but I swear you believe it has.
Norman went on to make at least 8 feature films and many other short films between 1920 and 1928. There was one called Black Gold, shot on location in the all-black oil town of Boley, Oklahoma. He shot a feature called The Bulldogger, starring the famous black cowboy Bill Pickett, who invented the sport of steer wrestling or bulldogging. In 2002, through the efforts of a few passionate local citizens, the city of Jacksonville purchased 4 of the 5 original Norman buildings. 5 years later, structural repairs and exterior renovations had been completed. Today, the studio grounds are silent sentinels, awaiting adoption by a responsible organization who sees how the Norman Studios could someday be a center for film history and learning.